everybody, what's up? My name is Ian and you're watching Wildcat MTG. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be about self-reflection. It's going to be about having a conversation with ourselves where we ask ourselves, what is it that I want from Magic the Gathering? What do I want my experience with this game to be like? And I've been thinking about this a lot recently. It's very interesting. I'll use Commander as an example because I think Commander is how most people interact with Magic nowadays. It's the most widely played format, so I think this is something that people can more easily identify with. But if you think about a game of Commander, before we start a game of Commander, we often have conversations with one another where we ask, each other, hey, this is the Commander I'm thinking about running. Power level is roughly XYZ. Maybe it does have or doesn't have infinite combos, etc. And we have those dialogues with each other because depending on what those are, and depending on what commanders and what decks are chosen, it shapes the experience that we have with that particular game, and nobody wants to have a miserable experience, right? So why don't we do that more often with ourselves? Why don't we have those conversations internally where we ask ourselves, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? And I will use myself as an example when I talk about that, in that when I came back to Magic in 2019 and I rediscovered the game by sheer happenstance, I'd been playing the game off and on since roughly 1996. And when I came back this last time, the deal that I made with myself was going to be that in addition to collecting the game and playing the game, which are two things I had always done, I would make a more concerted effort to also invest in the game. And so the thing that I found to be that works for me is I have this triangle. At one tip of the triangle, I've got investing. So I would define investing as things that I see as long-term strategy. We're not talking about 12 months or 18 months. We're talking about 5 years, 10 years plus, right? Things that fall into that category for me are reserve list. I know the reserve list is a shakier topic than it was, say, 7 or 8 months ago, but I still believe in the reserve list overall. And I'm pretty team reserve list until the day where it's no longer a thing. But I still consider those to be long-term investments. I will still buy cards on the reserve list for the sheer purpose of, I think it's cool to own a piece of what I would consider to be Magic history, and B, with the idea in mind that over time, those cards will go up in value. Next up, I also still believe in sealed products. So sealed product, it used to be we would buy boxes, and over time, after those boxes went out of print, they would start to appreciate in value. Now there's so many more boxes or product SKUs on there. I think, again, this is a shakier topic, but I'm still big on sealed product over time. I recently did a video on Core 2020, which is the last pre-collector box era core set, and why I think that is a good long-term product, and honestly why it's actually even overlooked now and really affordable as a box that only has, again, there's just draft boxes, or there were no set boxes, there were no collector boxes, and why I really like that as a core product, the last of its kind, and from a long-term standpoint. The next tip of the triangle I've got is the player. I enjoy the game. I put decks together, I enjoy playing the game. And hilariously, even though I like collector stuff, I like cool variants of cards, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second, and I like reserve list cards and whatnot. When I'm actually putting my decks together, a lot of the times I will play with the cheapest version of the card that I can find because I'm only buying that card for the sheer purposes of putting it in a deck. And I know that a lot of Commander players specifically like to bling out their decks and really make it personal to them. And I actually think that, again, that's just one more thing that adds to our experience with Magic and what makes this game so awesome. But for me as a player, that's usually like, hey, I don't want the card to be, damaged or anything. But other than that, as long as the card is in good condition, I'll play with cheapy copies just for the purposes of making the deck, no problem. And then the last tip of the triangle, again, is I've got collecting. I often think that collecting and investing are terms that are used interchangeably, but I actually don't see that as being the case. I think investing and collecting can be two different things, and they are often two different things. Collecting cards is, there are versions of cards that we have that are, hey, they have fancy treatments, whether it's a retro frame or a borderless frame or an extended art foil or something along those lines. Example of things that I think fit into the collector bucket more so than either of the other two are like secret layers. Do I think secret layers are investable long-term? To some degree, yes. But I also think that with the quantity that are being produced, it does make it hard to keep up with them. And I think it makes, with the amount of times that cards are being reprinted and in put in secret layers or on the list and things like that, that fancy versions of cards no longer make it so that that necessarily equates to value increasing in that card going up long term, especially since one set we're getting a textured foil, the next set we're getting a gilded foil, the next set we're getting surge foiling, and after that we're getting serial number cards. And I do think that that makes it different for us on terms of actually separating out something that I consider to be an investment versus something that I consider to be a collectible. And again, then separating that out versus me as a player. So again, I'm not saying that that is a strategy you have to employ, but when I'm making financial decisions about whether I want to purchase a single or purchase a sealed product or purchase X, Y, and Z things, I often figure out and think about where that falls within my triangle. Am I doing this more because I think it's a collection/investment strategy, or am I doing it just because I want to have the card to put into, you know, one or more decks? And that helps me understand what it is I'm trying to accomplish and why I'm trying to accomplish it. And I think that that's an important conversation that we should have. If you don't know what it is that you are trying to accomplish, then how will you know when you've achieved it? Right? That's what I'm trying to do. That's this conversation here today is you taking a look in the mirror, us taking a look in the mirror periodically and asking ourselves, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? It's a very simple conversation, but I think it's one that we should have continuously, and whatever strategy you employ. By the way, there's no wrong answers here, right? Like, one of the things I would emphasize is that the thing that makes this game brilliant is that it can be whatever we want it to be. This game's been around for almost 30 years now. And, you know, there's a myriad of different formats, whether it's Pauper or Pioneer or Modern or Standard or Commander, that we can enjoy those different formats for what they are. That we get super cool treatments of cards now. I'm not shunning those cool treatments. I'm saying that there's a lot of them and a lot to choose from. And so now I don't think that just because a card has a specific treatment that it makes it more valuable long term. But if you want those cards because you like them, because they speak to you, and you want to have them in your decks because you want to bling out that deck, that's awesome. That's what makes this game great. I'm simply saying, you know, if money is a finite resource, which it is for most of us, right? Understand where you're putting your money. Understanding what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do will help you make the most of that money. But there's no wrong answer. It's whatever you want it to be. Whatever makes you happy about this game, do more of that, right? But I also think that understanding that, you know, our resources are finite. What are you trying to accomplish? Know yourself. Have that conversation. Understand what you're trying to accomplish. And I think you'll be better off for it. I know that that's what's helped me in understanding my own personal financial goals or my goals with Magic the Gathering. So anyways, that's it today. Pretty simple conversation. But you know what? Reply back. Let me know what you guys think. What are some of the things that you find works for you? So that's it today. If you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor. If you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for me, and of course, by all means, drop me some of those comments. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and be well, everybody.